All right. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kudash. All right. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The 12 Tribes Sign Applies to Us Now. Now, yesterday I was watching this video that Elder Pastor did. The Lord said to teach, prophesy, warn, no gimmicks. And in this lesson, I'm not sure the minute marker, but he said the 12 tribes sign applies to us today. So I wrote that down, because it's a very good title for a topic to go into. And throughout from the moment that was written, let me see, Ezekiel was in the Babylonian Empire, and let's see something. According to to the red Bible that we have, that date, I thought it was, let me see something. Let me just make sure. It's saying it's 587 BC or so. Let me see what this side says. 587, yeah. So I believe it was by 605 BC that the Babylonian Empire had come into full power. The Neo-Babylonian Empire had come into full power over that realm, at the time, because they conquered the Assyrian Empire, and pretty much they were pretty much like amalgamated. That's why sometimes we'll say, or you'll hear the term Assyrio-Babylonian Empire. And when this empire was ruling, there would be like America today. When the Syrians are ruling, when the Medo-Persians are ruling, the Greeks, the Romans, it would be like America ruling over the world today. Now, America rules over the entire planet. Back then, they ruled over the known world. So when you deal with these empires and the different time frames, back then, the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek and Roman empires, they ruled over the known world because they had power over the main regions where trade was going on and business and so on and so forth. So in the midst of that, while Ezekiel was in the Babylonian Empire, the Lord gave him a vision. And this vision consisted of a valley, which is a lowland. And that valley, was full of dry bones. And that valley and the dry bones represented the whole nation of Israel. Let's go up to let's go down to up to the 12th verse. I'll start at 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. See, behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts, right? Because when you come up to today, because back then you had a split in the kingdom. So you had majority of southern kingdom in the Babylonian Empire. And at this point, 587 BC, the northern kingdom had already left from under the Assyrian captivity. So they were already on this side of the world. But you did have a sprinkle of them, of the northern kingdom among the southern kingdom. So going back to the split between Jeroboam and Rehoboam. All right. So today, the bones being dried and hope lost is Jake. You see Jake in a destitute state. They're like like the scriptures call Jake a degenerate vine of a strange, a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto the Lord. And that's what the dry part was. We had lost everything. We lost our identity. We lost, because like I'm looking at this thing here called, dried blueberries or dried fruit. Means that the moisture is sucked out of those dried fruits. That's what makes them dry. Like you have raisins. Raisins were grapes at one time that the liquid was taken out, so to speak, and you were left with a dry grape, which is called the raisin. Same thing with dry fruits. So what made them dry? The water was sucked out of them. The spirit is sucked out of this place, inside Job. And then so today, what would be the water? The water would be the word, right? Let's get a quick precept on that, and then we'll go back. Let's go to Ephesians. There's plenty of them, but the main one I could think of right now is Ephesians 5:26, and that's why Yahweh Shai said, if the branch does not abide connected to the root, it withers. So what happens is the water starts to be sucked out of it, the life starts to be sucked out of it, because it has no constant nourishment from the root. And that's why you see a lot of these like Israelite groups bugging out today, teaching these wayward doctrines, because apostasy is at an all-time high. So Ephesians 5:26, that he may sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. So the word is the water. So when the word gets pulled out, what happens? They become dried. And that's what happened with Jake. The word was taken away. And back then, Jake knew that they were Israelites. So it didn't apply to back then. Now they were catching hell. The hope was lost under the Babylonian Empire. True. But as far as them knowing who they were, they still knew who they were. The curses were, on them, but today, the main curse that's on us today is that we had lost who we were as a people. We were roaming around aimlessly, thinking that we were slaves, that we were nothing else but second-class citizens. We were at the bottom of, of the totem pole, so to speak. And that's how we lived our life. That's all we knew, until the Lord, woke us up and gave us the knowledge of who we really are. And it was like a wow moment, like, wow, like, damn, like you knew something was wrong, something wasn't right, something was missing, but you just couldn't put your hand on it. It almost reminds me of the movie The Matrix, when Trinity came, or actually Morpheus told Neo, that question in your mind, like something's missing, and you are convinced, you have a conviction in your spirit that something's missing, but you just can't put your hand on it because it hasn't been revealed to you. So that's what happened. The truth was revealed to us. And when you have a dry fruit or dry something, in order to reconstitute it, you have to, add water to it. And when you add the water to it, it doesn't just come right back to life. It takes time for the water to absorb into it to bring it back to life, so to speak. So that's what happened. It was a slow process of waking up. It's been roughly around 50 some odd years, 55, 56 years, since, the Elder Abba Bivens back in 1969, really the word started going out hard and heavy, all the way till now. And from that point, when it first was coming out, it was a very slow process, very few men, but then it just kept going and growing, just like that mustard seed. And you see the fruits of it now. There are branches worldwide, all over. So bone started coming to his bone in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s through the revolutionary movement, which this is what this is speaking about when you read up above that. But when they came together, they understood that there was a problem. And the problem was the oppressor, Esau. But they knew they had a problem. They knew who the common enemy was, but they still didn't have the breath in them because they were, still calling themselves Black, Puerto Rican, Mexican, so on and so forth. All right. So when we jump down, it says, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, behold, O my people, I will open your graves. And we've been in graves, When we go to Revelation, the 11th chapter, it speaks about that the nations did not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Matter of fact, let's get there real quick. Let's go to Revelation 11 and verse 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city," which spiritually, so what's the great city? America. How do we prove that? You can go to the 17th chapter, in the 18th verse, and it breaks it down that this city, this great city, is the city that rules pretty much the whole planet. And anyone with common sense would know that America runs the world. They're losing their grip now because they're at the end of their empire, but they still have influence worldwide. And how do we know that? Because after America is destroyed, the nations are going to be lamenting because they're not going to be able to make no more money. But as far as the influence of the grip that they once had, they don't have it because it's slipping. Why? Because we're in the waning years of Babylon the Great, which spiritually is called Sodom. It's not Sodom itself, but it's spiritually called Sodom. Why? So what was Sodom known for? It was known for a lot of debauchery, Mo activity, alphabet people activity, so on and so forth. It says, and Egypt. What was Egypt known for? For slavery, captivity. And that's exactly what went on here. Prior to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, well, in the midst of the southern kingdom being brought here, Gad had, been being conquered for years, going back to the, 1500s, so on and so forth. And eventually, once they conquered Gad, right, what did they do to Gad? They put him on reservation camps. They put him on reservations, which is nothing more than pretty much being locked up, prisoners. They were pretty much prisoners on their own land. And then you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that was brought to this side of the world. And from that point, they served captivity. All right. It says, where also our Lord was crucified. The word crucified means crossed out. And these scriptures, like Revelation 17:5 says that this is a mystery. Because people see the word crucified and they say, well, the Lord was crucified in Jerusalem, so this got to be talking about Jerusalem. No, it's not talking about Jerusalem. This is talking about America, the new Babylon the Great, spiritually known as Sodom, spiritually known as Egypt, spiritually known as Nineveh, spiritually known as Assyria, so on and so forth. All right. It says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations, is dealing with all the other nations, shall see their dead bodies. See? And what was the dead bodies? That was that destitute state that Jake had. Once so-called slavery was over, right? Jake was still in a destitute state, but there were pockets where Jake, the tribe of Judah, flourished. There were many different cities in America where Israel, the Judites, flourished. They built different communities. We've mentioned them before. Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You had Rosewood. You had Seneca Village in New York. You had different other places around America where Jake was flourishing, thriving, being segregated, being among themselves, building up their communities, building up their finances among themselves. You had post office and theaters and all kind of amenities. They were living good. They were living better than Edomites in certain cases. And what happened? Esau got jealous. Like they always do. They lied, and then they destroyed all of those cities that Jake had. Some of them they were covered over with man-made lakes. Like one I could think of is Lake Lanier. So on and so forth. So they pretty much abolished them. So the nations during the time of slavery, they saw Jake's dead body. They knew who Jake was. It says 3 days and a half, and these 3 days and a half are prophetic days, which is really pretty much a period of 350 years. All right. And that is from the moment the bulk of the slaves were brought here, because slaves were being brought here prior to 1619. They were being shipped all over. excuse me, but 1619 was a pivotal year because there was a great um, bulk of them brought here. And when you add 350 years to 19, I'm sorry, to 1619, it adds up to 1969. And it's not a coincidence that in 1969 you had Elder Abba Bivens out there teaching this word that we preach today. And also, this is when Esau, sent up his space missions and so-called said that he landed on the moon, which they didn't. But the Lord said when they reached that pinnacle, that's when He would start bringing them down. And if you're familiar with what happened in the mid to late '60s into the '70s, America started on a downward spiral. They were starting to circle the drain. Well, they were encircling the drain at that point, but they were starting their downward spiral. It says, "And shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves," meaning they did not put Jake to rest. Because remember, one thing that this devil does is once he conquers you, he removes from you who you really are, or tries to anyway. That's why Gad had the boarding schools. They changed the mind of the young Gadites, the boys and the girls. They would cut off their hair. They would not allow them to speak their language. They would, I believe, in certain cases, they would beat them if they spoke their language. They made them speak English. They taught them the curriculum of Esau, so on and so forth, and taught them to abandon their culture, their language. And same thing with Jake. They would beat Judah to the point where they'll tell them, look, your name is Toby, and if you tried to call on your name that you came here from so-called Africa, western coast of Africa, they would beat you until you accepted your new name. So what do you think generational, generation after generation of not being called who you really are would affect, how it would affect someone? Eventually, just like in the Greek Empire, eventually the children and the children's children, many generations removed, would forget who they were. They would forget their native language. They would forget their nation. They would forget everything that they knew about themselves, and would think that they are, so-called American, or just slaves, and so on and so forth. And you see the effects of it today. Certain jakes you try to go to and try to tell them that they're Israelites, they don't want to hear that. What? I'm black, man. I'm Puerto Rican, man. I'm Cuban. I'm Jamaican, or whatever the case may be. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice with them. So that's going into the same thing, but that's the main point. All right. So going back to Ezekiel chapter 37 and 12, therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai, behold, O my people, I will open your graves. And how did he do that? By setting up the elder Abba Bivens to teach the message that he taught, which we teach today, which brought us out of that darkness, because the whole world was in darkness. Remember what Yahweh Shai said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, mentally free, because we're still physically in captivity, through these different contracts that we have with the government, but spiritually, mentally, we're free, because we know who we are. So the graves here represents rest. The graves in Revelation 11 represents rest. Because once, I don't know about any of you brothers out there, I'm pretty sure y'all could say the same, but once, the Lord woke us up to find out who we were, we let out a sigh of relief. Like, damn, I knew something was up. Because I know for me specifically, when I went to the school at One West, the first day I went there, I sat, I believe I was either in the second or the third row from the front. If I remember correctly, it was either the second or the third row. And there was a big sign hanging from the wall with 2 chains on it, and not 2 Chainz the rapper. It had 2 chains, silver, and they were hanging. It was hanging up from the ceiling. It was big. It had to be at least 8 by 8. The sign was yellow. It was yellow paint with black letters. And it said the 12 tribe sign, and they broke the tribes down: Judah, so-called Negroes; Benjamin, so-called West Indians; so on and so forth. When I got to Ephraim, so-called Puerto Ricans, and I paused for a minute, and I went, in my mind, finally I'm where I belong. So that was the rest. And the scriptures speak about that rest. Let's go to Isaiah. I believe that's either the 28th, the 29th, or the 30th chapter. Let me go to 28 first, and let me do it this way. Yep. Isaiah 28 and 12. It says, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith you may cause the weary to rest. Right. So this truth is our rest. This is our comfort. And this is the refreshing. Right. And this is what refreshes us. Yet they would not hear because they didn't want to hear it. Jake didn't want to accept it. But the elect would accept it. So going back to Ezekiel, it says, middle of the 12th verse, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves. Right. So the Lord will open up that dead state that we were in and cause us to come out of that dead state. Because when we go to, what is that? Proverbs chapter 20, is it? And verse okay, it might be, let me type in the word wandereth. Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. See? So we were in a dead state. Why? Because we no longer had the water. That's why when you read up above from the first verse of Ezekiel 37, the Lord told Ezekiel, and they were very dry, meaning they were totally, had no moisture in them at all. It says, the end of verse 12 and Ezekiel 37, and bring you into the land of Israel. Right. And this is what we're getting ready to do. The Lord is getting ready to bring us back to the land of Israel. Because first would be the awakening. Then it would be the revealing of Esau through the Lord's prophets. Then the destruction will come, the deliverance will come, and then the transportation in style from, Babylon the Great and other parts of the world back to the land of Israel. All right. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. And that's why the names are very important. So don't listen to these clowns that tell you that we don't know the names. And no man has ever seen the Most High. And that's not true. You had men that did see the Lord. You had Daniel in the vision, saw him. Moses saw him, But the thing was that he said that no man could see my face, all right, and live. It says, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. And that's what happened. When the Lord started to water us with his word, we were brought out of those graves because we were pretty much walking corpses. We were like the walking dead. And then once the Lord hit us with his word, which is that herb, the healing power, that water, then we came back to life. It says, and shall put my spirit in you, see, because this truth is meant to better you, to better us, and give us a change of heart, change of mind. And when we first come in, we're babies, and after a while, when you learn enough, the Holy Spirit comes over you and guides you to where you don't need to be spoon-fed or diapers to be changed, or to be bathed or whatever the case may be. You've become, born in Yahushai, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai through the Holy Spirit will guide you. And you shall live, see, and I shall place you in your own land, because we're not in our own land right now. Even though this land belonged to Gad, It belongs to Esau now. Ain't that about a bitch? Then shall you, and just like the land of Israel today, that's our land, but these rats got it. Then shall you know that I, the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, have spoken it and performed it, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai. So now we go to what? The reunion of Judah and Israel. And that's what's happening. And that's why in the book of either Jeremiah 50 or 51, it says that they were oppressed together. You know, Judah and Israel, Jerusalem and Israel were oppressed together. We were never really oppressed together in the Babylonian Empire. Although you did have a sprinkle of the northern kingdom, that wasn't fulfilled in Jeremiah 50 or 51 all the way until America. You know, and another prophecy that was fulfilled here in America, it says that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not the people of the living power, there shall be said that you are the people of the living power. Something along those lines. And if that don't apply to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, who does it apply to? Because years ago, the naked archaeologist, that devil, he's an Amalekite, a small hat, he did a special on, you know, the 12 tribes and who they are today. And he went to every part of the world and mentioned all these other different people, Chinese and this, that, and the other, and this person and that person, this nation, that nation. And not once did he mention any so-called Negroes. He didn't mention any of the so-called Puerto Ricans. He didn't mention the Dominicans, the Jamaicans. He didn't mention South American. He didn't mention nobody that was actually an Israelite. But he mentioned all these other different nations. And that goes hand in hand with the scripture that, you know, we shall not be reckoned among the nations. And that's exactly what happened. So these scriptures, everywhere you slice them, they all go back to our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which are the Israelites, and the ones that are scattered abroad that have, you know, that are the speckled bird of Israel. You know? Oh, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know you could do that. It's a touch screen. Okay. Yeah, I had to turn in that the Chromebook that I bought because after a couple of days the camera stopped working. And when I went back, it was $100 cheaper, but they didn't have any more. So what I got was they gave me a laptop, a HP laptop, you know, which was from what I bought the other one for. It was maybe like I got back about $60 back, so that was cool. So now I'm on an actual, you know, laptop. All right, so let's get into it. Ezekiel 37:15. The word of the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai came unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. So this is what? The southern kingdom. Why? Because when you go back to the history, I believe that's 1 Kings 11 on up to about the 14th chapter, 11th chapter to the 14th chapter. That was a great split after King Solomon, you know, and during the time when King Solomon was going off, the Lord caused, I believe that was Ahijah the prophet, to run into Jeroboam, which was an Ephraimite that was working for King Solomon, who he was a very industrious man, you know, and excuse me. Then, you know, Ahijah caught him, ripped his garment into 12 parts, gave him 10 parts, and kept 2. He said, "That's going to be for you. The kingdom is going to split, and you're going to get 10 tribes." And from that point unto this day, the Israelites have been, you know, broken up into 2 separate nations. And you even see it today when we're out there teaching. These clowns, these new breed of demons, come up and say that all the tribes are so-called black. All 12 tribes of Israel are black. Then you have another group of clowns that say all 12 tribes of Israel are Indians. You know, so they're both wrong. You know, one thought he was invincible. The other one thought he could fly. They were both wrong. Inside joke. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. Why? Because Joseph and Ephraim are synonymous with each other. You could go back to Numbers. I believe that's the first chapter, 32nd verse, if I'm not mistaken, where it tells you that the name of Ephraim is found in Joseph or something along those lines. Then, and this is why when you go to Revelation chapter 7, it mentions Joseph. It doesn't mention Ephraim. Why? Because Joseph and Ephraim are interchangeable. Because Ephraim got the greater portion of the blessing than Manasseh. And for all the house of Israel, his companions. So here it is. This is why we have 12 tribe sign, which nobody else out there had. You know? And that 12 tribe sign right now is worldwide. You have brothers down in South America. And there was a brother in Central America. Then you have the Caribbean islands. You have brothers out there, and in Trinidad and Jamaica and different other cities or islands where Benjamin is at. Then you have Ephraim and Simeon and so on and so forth. Where there's 12 tribe signs that you got Europe in the land of Ham, Africa, Australia. There was a brother that used to watch us from Slovenia. Matter of fact, I just ran into I didn't even know. I've seen the brother's face before. There, he was doing videos in Korean. GMS Korea or something like that. But the writing is in Korean, except for the GMS part. So I was like, damn. So this word is everywhere, and the 12 tribe sign is everywhere. So it says, and join them one to another into one stick. Why? Because they were separated. So they were brought back together. They were integrated by what? By this 12 tribe sign. And it's very necessary to have this 12 tribe sign to identify who they are, because that 12 tribe sign is a conversation piece. And we've seen it time and time again. People will walk by. Sometimes they'll just look at the sign and keep going. And sometimes they'll look at the sign and say, what's this all about? I see right there, number 7. That's me. What's that talking about? And then that opens up the door to teach and to, wake them up if they be a part of the elect. And I was watching a part of the Elder Muwatazak's video, which Pastor also was speaking on it, where he said that all of those men that were there, they should have broke them up into different camps, and they should have been on all those different corners teaching the word, edifying the people instead of marching. Which that would have been a whole lot. It would have had a whole lot more impact than just marching. You marching out there and you showing these devils, your numbers. That's a very stupid thing to do. Show the devil your numbers. When you should be out there teaching the word. The Lord didn't call us into this thing to be warriors, and marching armies. The Lord called us into this thing to be teachers. That great army that the Lord spoke about in Ezekiel and in Revelation 11, that's talking about the elect. And that's why I said that great fear fell upon them which saw them. Why? Because they saw them back in order. They've been sowing disorder all throughout. They've been, cloning Tyrone as a movie. They cloned Tyrone. And figured that everyone is going to follow down that path because a large portion of our people are going down that direction. But it backfired on them. Because although, you do have the grimy element, you also have the ones that the Lord woke up that are not grimy. It says, and they shall become one in thine hand. Now, as you've heard Elder Pastor mention, Ezekiel never carried a 12 tribe sign. Why? Because Israel already knew that they were Israelites back then. And it's true. None of the prophets in the past carried a 12 tribe sign. Yahushua didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. Judas Maccabees didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. The apostles didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. The Apostle Paul didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. During the Dark Ages, they didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. During the Renaissance period, they didn't carry a 12 tribe sign. That 12 tribe sign really didn't start being manifested until roughly around 1969 and beyond that. Because Elder Abba Bivens, when he spoke, there's videos up on YouTube. Elder Abba speaks or something like that. I can't remember the title. It was like 3 parts, and the pastor wanted to put up more, but these were cassettes that he somehow managed to transfer the audio in video form of some sort, and upload it to YouTube. But he was catching so much hell that he stopped at the 3rd one. So you only have like 3 parts. And I know he wanted to put up more than that, but it was so much hell to do that that eventually he stopped at the 3rd one. So there's like, what is it? I think they're 10 minutes each, so that's 30 minutes. So from that point on, that's when the truth started to be revived. And when Elder Abba Bivens was speaking, you could even hear him say it on there that the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos or Hispanics, I think he said Latinos, and Native American Indians were Israelites. He just didn't know what tribe each one of them belonged to. That was given to Elder High Priest Ariah. And we believe this by faith, because if the Spirit is with you and you read the book of Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33, it breaks down the characteristics of the different tribes and what they will be going through in the last days. And you even have Israelites that have denounced that. Them clowns from Boston, the old Boston crew, Saaja, Aram, and them guys, they're teaching that was talking about back then, that the Reuben, that was talking about back then, and this was talking about back then, and pretty much they threw the old breakdown down, because now you have a lot of Israelite Christians out there, and I'm not saying Christian in the good sense as in the book of Acts. I'm talking about Christians in the bad sense as in Renaissance Christians. They're the soft, moist, muffin Israelites. The get along, the whatever, however the saying goes. The PC Israelites. They done threw everything out. A lot of them have accepted the nations. They become Israelite Christians. And that's exactly what they've done. So when we read Ezekiel 37:18 now, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Yeah, and we've actually witnessed this. What do you mean by that? Just like the prophecy said would happen. Now, that wouldn't have been possible without a 12-tribe sign. And, Ezekiel wasn't carrying that around. He wasn't carrying no 12-tribe sign. The Lord wasn't carrying the 12-tribe sign. There was never a time in history when a 12-tribe sign was carried. Not until this time now. It says, wilt thou not show unto us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, behold, I will take a stick of Joseph, the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim. Ephraim is synonymous with Joseph. And the tribes of Israel, his fellows, the northern kingdom. And will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, southern kingdom, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And this also, the closing of the breaches, let's get that one real quick. Because even to this day, you still have those that vex Ephraim and those that envy Judah, because Judah is the head tribe. But you can't do nothing about it. Judah is the head tribe. The Most High is Judah. Yahushua is Judah. And Judah is the top. And that's why when you look at all the tribes do amazing things, but not compared to Judah. Out of all the tribes, Judah would be the most godlike. And you have to accept that. Because if you don't, then the hell with you. So Amos 9:11, in that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen. Right. And what is the tabernacle of David? The house of David. The men, women that were joined with King David. They're going to come back today. They're going to come back under their proper order. And close up the breaches thereof. What are the breaches? The gaps, the differences between the tribes. And you have a lot of it, even to this day. And Elder Pastor made a observation, which I've noticed that too, in that video that he was speaking on with Elder Mawatazar, that you don't see any, barely you see any light skinned, Ephraimites, or light skinned, Jakes in general. You see a handful here and there. Did I say a handful? But they're pretty much kind of, sort of holding that same spirit that was at One West. That Elder High Priest Lahab, as he was called back then, High Priest Lahab had, you light skinned Puerto Ricans, you're Spaniards, So they would have called Blake Griffin's son an Edomite because of the way he looks. You're a Spaniard, So they I believe they still kind of hold on to that, because if you have a light skinned Ephraimite or any other tribe in there, right, in the IUIC, if he kisses ass, a bootlicker, then he's an Israelite. But the minute he starts questioning and going against him, oh, he's a Spaniard, bunch of hypocrisy, boy. So the Lord's going to close up those breaches, even among the ones that are here now, because the scriptures speak about those of the circumcision whose mouth must be stopped. And the Lord also said that judgment will begin at the house of the Lord. It says, and I will raise up his ruins and will build it as in the days of old. And we're seeing it happening right now before your eyes. Now, let's go from there to Isaiah chapter 11, because the Lord is stopping all of that. He's stopping that. But you're still going to have stumbling blocks. You're still going to have those that hold to that, to that so-called standard. But that's all right, because the way to the truth is very narrow. And it's becoming more and more narrow every day as more and more Israelites wake up, and you have these false prophets and false teachers teaching wayward doctrines to where they're confusing most people. So most Jakes that's coming into this, they're not coming into this thing for the word. They're coming into this thing for fancy production, for the marching, for the garments, for the chance to get a job, for the chance to be a part of something, for the chance to get a wife, to be married, to go eat lamb, and drink wine. See, they're not coming to this thing for the word, but those are all sifting grounds, stumbling blocks that the Lord is setting up. Isaiah 11:13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, right? Because Ephraim envies Judah. Why? Because Ephraim at one time was the head. You have Reuben, then Ephraim was the head, but it went all the way down to Judah, and Judah got their head position last, because the last shall be first. And that's prophecy. The Lord was going to raise up they was going to raise up Judah first, so that the rest of the tribes wouldn't magnify themselves against Judah, because Judah is the head tribe. This is where the Lord is pleased with that. So who the fuck are you to speak against that? Well, fuck are you? Inside joke. And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off, right? So anyone that doesn't accept Judah to be the head tribe, guess what? You're going to be cut off. It says, Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and that's what's happening right now with certain ones. You have northern kingdom that don't have a problem with Judah, that don't have a problem with them being the head, right? It says, Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. And then you have southern kingdom that are not vexing the northern kingdom, because they understand that the Lord is bringing the closure and bringing the house of David back together. You see? So you either get it or you don't. So Ezekiel 37, I read 19 again. Say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellow northern kingdom, and will put them with him even the stick of Judah, southern kingdom, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. Why? Because that's how the Lord set it up. And the ones that are part of the elect will come into it, abide by it, and remain to the end. And the ones that are not are going to eventually fall away. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. And Ezekiel never had this sign before their eyes. You know, there's no history of the 12 tribe sign being brought before Israel and paraded and them asking questions about it. This didn't happen until now. Why? Because there was going to be a great awakening. Let's go to I quoted it earlier, but let's go to Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. It says, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, as he promised Abraham, which cannot be measured nor numbered," meaning innumerable. "And it shall come to pass that in the place," what place is that? America, "where it was said unto them, you are not my people." Why? Because we would not be reckoned among the nations. And they say that about us. You the Israelite? You? Nah. Say it ain't so. Can't be true. Anybody else but us. In the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. You are the Israelites. And that's exactly what we're witnessing right now. And that sign helped to identify who each tribe was. But even in that, you have brother that might have, parents that came from Puerto Rico, and he might think he's an Ephraimite, but he might be a Benjaminite, or he might be a Judite, or he might be a Gadite or a Reubenite. That the sign, the 12 tribe sign, is just, an example of prophecy. And, we don't know what tribe we really are. Some brothers that think that Ephraim might be Judah, or they might be Benjamin. Some brothers that think that Judah might be Gad or Reuben, or Manasseh. We'll find out. All right. It says, "Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together." That's the 12 tribes coming back together. The house of David. "And appoint themselves one head, which is King David. And they shall come up out of the land out of the land, which is America. For great shall be the day of Jezreel." Jezreel is a Hebrew word or Hebrew name. Yazarai Allah. Yah is he. Zerai is seed. Allah is God or power. He is the seed of the power. So the elect are the seed of the power. The house of David, that is the seed of the power. Because we were lost. And now the Lord, brought it back to our remembrance of who we are. And that came through, beginning with Elder Abba Bivens. All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 17 and 10. "And the disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things." You see? He restored all things in this time. And if you could receive it, that's Elder Abba Bivens. And we believe that by faith. You could either believe it or not. Depends on how the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua through the Holy Spirit moves you. And that's what he did in this time. He restored all things. Because when you have to restore something, it means it's not in the proper function. It's not working properly. So if you had to restore it, what do you have to do? You have to, take it. You may have to pull it apart, change certain pieces, and build it back, So the word is apokathistemi. It says to restore to its former state, right? How it used to be. In Haggai, it says that the latter end of this house shall be better than the former. And we're seeing that happening. So we're just going right now through the building stages, to get to that perfection. Then the Lord's going to perfect us and we're going to be good. Excuse me. It says to be in its former state. And that's what we're getting restored. It says to listen, to reconstitute. That's how you what do you do with when you have something that's dry, you add water to it, it's reconstituted. To reconstitute what in health, home, or organization. We were restored or reconstituted back to health, back to our home, and back to our organization, which goes into the word cosmos. The word cosmos is an organization. Matter of fact, in this red Bible that we have, when you go to the concordance in the back of it and you look up the word world, it gives you, I think it gives you like 3 different definitions for the word world, or 3 different Greek words. Oh man, this is it's missing in this book. Yeah, the very end of it is missing. So the word world there, in the red Bible, there was 3 of them, and one of them was cosmos, which is an organization. All right, an arrangement. So that's what Elijah, the prophet, did in this time. But I say unto you that Elias has come already, and they knew him not. This was back then, 2,000 years ago. But they have done unto him whatsoever they liked. They listed, likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. Why? Because they knew and understood about reincarnation. But he would have to come again to restore all things. Because back then they knew that they were Israelites. You see? In this time, we didn't know we were Israelites. Hence Malachi 4 and 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. Back then, this great and dreadful day of Yahweh didn't happen. This is happening now. So he had to come twice. He had to come during a time when Yahweh Shai was on the scene to do what? To be the forerunner, to announce the coming of the King, Yahweh Shai. Then he will have to come again now, and same thing. There's another scripture where it says, till you say, "Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord," or something along those lines. Let me see. In the name of the Lord. Let's see. Right. Matthew 21:9, and the multitudes that went before and that followed cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of the Most High, as Hawashai Na'ah, or deliver us. To the Son of David, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, Hosanna in the highest. And there was another one. Right, here we go. Matthew 23:39. For I say unto you, you shall not see me henceforth till you shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai. And that's exactly what Elder Abba Bivens did in this time. And he knew that the Most High's name was Yahweh, and he knew that his son's name is Yahweh Shai. And people have a problem because back then, when you had the commandment keepers and all of those other jakes that found out that they were Israelites, they were following the small hats. But there had to be, a starting point. And then slowly but surely, all of that stuff that them small hats were teaching, that Jake was teaching back then, through the truth was being hacked away, the stuff that didn't belong. Like they used to, back in the days when we used to keep the Passover, we used to have boiled eggs at the Passover. Boiled eggs is synonymous with what? With Easter. And we don't celebrate that. The Easter that we celebrate, that the scriptures call Easter, is the Passover. All right? So those things were hacked away. So today, you don't see any of those teachings of the small hats. Even so far as going into worshiping the Sabbath on Friday night to Saturday night. No, we worship the Sabbath based on the new moon, because the new moon is a Sabbath. The new moon dictates the rest of the Sabbaths for the month, and that's why the Lord set up the moon for the signs and seasons, days and years. And then the day starts in the evening, and the evening and the morning were the first day. See, so going back to Malachi, it says, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, which he did today, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse," because he made a promise to Abraham. And if Jacob would have never woke up, but you will have those that wake up a part of the elect, the Lord will have to destroy this place. But he won't, because he's bound by his word. And his word he said that he's gonna build the tabernacles of David and wake up the elect in this time. What else we got here? What is this? Okay, this is good, but this is going into something else. So pretty much, as you can see, the 12 tribe sign applies to us now. It didn't apply back then because Ezekiel didn't carry the 12 tribe sign. None of the prophets or Yahushai or the rest of the men of the Lord, they never carried the 12 tribe sign. Go get some chapstick for your dry lips, Alton Johnson. You always got some clown talking shit. Let's see. Trying to see if I could see who the clown is. Alton Johnson. I don't see him. I don't know what he said, but wasn't good. The young elder, Yashalom, GMS Watchman. The 12 tribe sign is like a sort of template. When you look up template in the etymology, it goes back to plank and temple. Yep. Template is defined also as a preset format for a document or file used so that the format does not have to be recreated each time it is used. Yeah, that's right. You have a question. What's your question? That name you got is crazy, but go ahead and ask your question. Germ the virus. I hope you're not a scoffer. What's your question? If you take too long, I'm gonna have to end this, and then Lord's will see you brothers in another one. All right, so with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.